Almost every public and customer service industry is ran 24/7. As convenient as it is to us as the customer, there is always a group of people who get fucked of their time off. In some cases, these overtime workdays are preventable. This is everybody is working for the weekend.
Overtime work. When do you guys usually hear about that? Within like less than 24 hours of the actual weekend.
Almost all the damn time. Sometimes you're on your time off and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, like,
walking out. The worst ones for me is walking out the door on a Friday. It's 5:10 and I'm like, all right, everybody, catch you on Monday. Hey, real quick before you go. Oh, no.
Please, no. It better be have a great time.
I've even thought to myself, like, what if I just ran right now to the car and jumped in and drove away? Like,
right?
What's the worst that can happen? I mean, they could fire me, but like, really, what's the worst that could happen? You know what I mean?
Right. Can't get bad news if you're not there to get it, right?
That's right.
Exactly. So, everybody, we have our first return guest, and she's actually a return guest. And please welcome back Bubbles.
Bubbles.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my God.
You are welcome.
No,
We are grateful.
We are grateful.
Yes, you are grateful.
No, you
Messed up your own catchphrase.
Oh, come on, Bubbles.
Sorry, I'll get it together.
By God.
Yeah, at least you worry.
You shout.
Yes.
I speak louder than you. I'm right.
But isn't that the thing though, right? Or that's how you win an argument. You just got to be louder than the other person.
Yeah, you don't have to be coherent. You just got to be louder than the next person.
So fancy this. If you watch rap battles, when they're starting to win the argument or they're actually trying to reinforce their point in the battle, they will raise their hands higher.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So you see them like this.
So they look like the wacky waving inflatable flailing on Tube Man.
Yeah. It's true though. Watch it.
Yep.
Tell me that's not true, Bubbles.
It is true.
Even with the wannabe rappers in every type of schoolyard or like any kind of place where people think they can rap.
Yeah, it's all about, elevation of tone, of body language,
volume
of these hands, of whatever.
So I'm to understand you're an up and coming rapper.
Yes.
What's your handle? What's your song? What's your freestyle for us real quick?
My favorite thing is actually what I started doing with Shoreline's mom. This
now I'm confused.
This past weekend, her and I are going to start a duo, her and I. So, Too Short, right?
Yeah, yep.
I started yelling. We were in Vegas. I started yelling, "What's my favorite word?" And I taught her to yell biatch right after that.
It was pretty great.
So you have, her and I just yelling in Vegas, "What's my favorite word?" And she's like, biatch.
I could just imagine that. Like walking down the
And
slopes.
their Shoreline, like, that's my mom.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have seen her when she was teaching her how to twerk. What? That happened.
Work.
In
And
fucking
then she
Vegas.
goes, "I've got to learn this for his dad."
Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
That's nightmare fuel for you.
dude. It has been my entire life. If that was scarring, I wouldn't have made it through my childhood. Like,
my God.
but picture how good that marriage has got to be now.
oh,
Yeah.
they have
Actually,
one of the
yeah,
best
that's-
marriages.
You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
That's marriage that's keeping on trying, Keeping on.
Who says you can't teach an old
They
dog
are
new tricks?
And she's learning the tricks.
And he's probably listening right now.
She's grateful.
She
for
is
you
grateful.
teaching
Keep
her
on
how to
keeping
twerk.
on.
He is grateful too.
He is also
He is
grateful.
especially grateful,
I just gotta ask how what's the age of your parents?
My dad just turned 60, and my mom is 58.
Oh, so
so they're still in their
pretty
prime.
young. Yeah, they're still young.
They still got it.
There's not hip issues involved yet. That's good.
No, not yet.
60 is like the new 45 nowadays,
True.
man, with the advances in medicine,
Well, As we've all learned from looking at me, that's not the case. It's not the case at all.
Like that.
I'm gonna be if I make it to 60, they're gonna look at me and go, "This fool about to die at any moment." Like, don't breathe too hard around him.
It's like, damn, mummification in real life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, That fool pickled? How's he saying? How's he upright right now?
Yeah, y'all got the extra seal on that jar. You can that well.
The secret's Flex Seal. You just coat yourself in it.
Slap some Flex Seal on it.
Caution will cause cancer.
Oh.
All right, so we were talking about like getting the call about overtime work and the most inconvenient of times. Bubbles, you've experienced quite a handful of this. What was one of the most inconvenient times you got the overtime call or message, whatever?
I think the most there's been a few. Okay. So I'm salary, so I don't, I'm not getting paid for it. And I already work over 40 hours a week, so I already work for free often. But we'll have these on-call weeks where I'll go on call for an entire department. And there was this one time where Shoreline and I were out. We, had a little date night or whatever. And he was showing me some stuff on a mixing board. And it was like past midnight. And I get a call saying, hey, so-and-so's not here. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, okay, well, did you call them? They're like, no, that's what you're supposed to do. I was like, you obviously don't already know that's what you're supposed to do. And so, I call them, and then the staff person who's supposed to be there, they're like, I'm on medical leave. I was like, since when? Oh, yeah, I'm on medical leave. I was like, well, why didn't you tell me? How long have you known that you're on medical leave? Because, HR ain't been told me nothing yet.
Right. I went on medical leave the minute you put me on for weekend work.
Yeah. And I'm like,
just
what?
all of a sudden.
What?
Maybe from twerking.
Yeah. So, 12:30, I'm like having to come because programs got to stay open. And I'm like
12:30 at night?
Yeah, 12:30 at night.
I guess morning, whatever you want to call it. But
yeah. So, I had to go, and I was like, okay, well, I, had already worked all day. I haven't slept. And so now I need to go work again. And then there was this other one where a staff member had already been working for about 4 or 5 hours at the time. And that's when they decided to tell me, hey, I don't have a key at 2:30 a.m.
How did you get in the building?
They were like, oh, yeah, a staff person, what if I have to take out the trash? I was like, are you planning on taking out the trash? Could you not wait till the morning to take out the trash? Are you sure there's not a key there? And they were like, oh, well, what if I have to take out the trash? And I was like, that's your main concern? So, and I live an hour away from my job. So, at 2:30 in the morning, having to get up and go was not fun.
I bet everyone had a very fantastic day after that.
Yeah, not fun.
One for me is it's 11:30 at night, right? I'm tanked out. I just came back off the road. I got home at like 7 o'clock. Was in bed, 11:30, passed out, and I get a call. Hey, you got a flight at 6 a.m. Headed to Texas. What now? It's 6 a.m.
Oh, Jesus.
out of Pittsburgh. Well, that airport's 2.5 hours away. Yeah. So I guess leave now is what you're telling me. Like, there's not, hey, could you? There's not, they don't even ask. Like, at some point they just like screw the courtesies and you're like, hey, we got you the flight set up. So bye.
Yeah.
Right.
Great. This is awesome. Gotten an hour of sleep. So guess I'll, you can sleep on the plane.
I think one of the, mine hasn't been extreme as you guys, but it was probably just as frustrating is when I was in the service, they would have duty days, right? They'll have someone has to be at the unit or someone has to be at the control desk for reasons. And this is a 24-hour shift.
Is that the one where they have the red phone and you just got to sit there and stare at it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
They get the red phone, which is not the red phone. It's kind of like an emergencies phone, like something blew up or whatever. Anyway, so it was not my designated day to do it, but it was my section's day. And I get a call saying, hey, so-and-so did not show up for his duty day and he's not answering his phone and this and that. So you're going to need to stand in for his duty. I'm like, fuck, no, I'm not.
Well, like, is this person going to face negative repercussions for not doing this?
Yeah.
Because I've been in situations like that. They're like, hey, we're going to start pulling overtime to catch up on production or whatever else.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, we need volunteers for the weekend. You're like, look, hey, me and these same 5 people have been here every weekend for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
I know there's more than just us working here at this facility, would it be nice to get on like some sort of a rotation where there's an actual schedule that I look at and say, okay, I only work one weekend a month or something like that. You know what I mean? So at least it's like, I got to give up one weekend, but I get some other ones. But instead, you tell everybody it's mandatory, and there'll be negative repercussions if you don't show up. But only the same 5 people show up, and nobody else does, and nothing happens.
Right.
And so then you're like, well, hell with it. I'm not going in this weekend either. And then you come in on Monday like, hey, here's your written warning for not showing up on the weekend. Well, hold on a minute. Is there a stack of them? Like, is there a stack of these write-ups?
No, it's just for you 5.
It's just for you. Yeah, go pound sand.
Yeah, like, so going back to that one, right? And it says, well, we're going to need you to go because it's your section's turn for duty. I'm like, no, I really don't care. And usually for instances like that, they have like a scheduled individual that's called the supernumerary or super nut, as we call them, to actually stand in for that in the event. And they said, like, yeah, we're not going to call the super nut. We're just going to have you since it's your section. Like, fuck. All right. And it's pretty much getting to that point where like they're telling me to do it or they're going to do X, Y, Z to me. I'm like, God damn it. And then so I go over there, I stand it for 24 hours. And then the very next workday, so-and-so that was supposed to be doing it just strolls up like everything's right with the world.
Yeah, whistling, birds singing around him.
With his venti iced coffee and all that shit. Like,
yeah, well rested.
Yeah, like, oh, how was your weekend, friend? Oh, it was fantastic.
Awesome. I went to the beach.
Fuck yourself.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like, guess what? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get my time back.
I'm gonna get my time back.
I'm gonna get what's mine. Come into this dark corner real quick.
Got your ass now. One of my favorite. I'm using the word favorite very loosely here. One of my favorite things to happen is it's the end of the week, right? Working all week long, things seem to be going smoothly. You got that last end of shift meeting on Friday, and so like, all right, everybody, slap hands, good week, see you all on Monday. And you get that, hey, real quick, manager steps out of his office, hey, real quick, he's on the phone, he's like, hey, real quick, and you're all standing there around, and he comes back out, need volunteers? No, we start throwing that fit, and like, remember Bruce Almighty when he wakes up in his bed and starts doing that throwing a fit thing? That's what you start doing. No, come on, I don't wanna. We need volunteers for the weekend. And then all of a sudden, everybody that you just talked to that said, they didn't have much going on that weekend.
They
all of a
got
sudden,
all
they
the
have
things.
magical plans that popped up. Yo, I'm heading out of town. I got family in San Diego, so I'm going to be down there and this and that. And then they just scatter like cockroaches.
Say, I got a dentist appointment.
And you're still standing there. And then like, well, it's either you volunteer, it's voluntold. And you're like, all right, voluntold some people. I mean, you don't actually actively say that because it puts you out there, but then they always point again to the same 5 people. You 4. You 4 coming in. Man, like, that's why we need a schedule. This is ridiculous.
Like, we're going to start volunteer. All right, bet.
That shit drives me insane.
Fuck.
I've had a few instances like that too, and it's been kind of nice though, because now since we're in this, world of Zoom, everything's Zoom, I've just been ending. So people will be like, hey, hold on 1 second. I already ended the meeting. So I'm just like,
you know what's bad is my kids have figured out how to do that with school too. They're like, all right, another assignment.
No, we done today.
With the teacher, but then the teacher like texts us like, I think your kid fell off, and I'm like, did they? Because I mean, when they have homework, it means I have homework.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
isn't there a thing where like you can? I might be getting this wrong, but some people would just screenshot themselves like they're paying attention.
Yeah, a bunch of high school
and then they'll do that as a share screen, and then it just looks like they're on, but they're not.
Yeah, that's
they just put their thing on mute.
A lot of teenagers have figured out how to do that. Like my niece's one, she figured out how to do that, and then went in there one day, and you hear the teacher talking, and she's sound asleep on her bed, and I'm like, what the? Kudos for the effort you put into that, but also why don't you put some effort into your school? Like,
Yeah, how about you put half that amount of effort into figuring out your schoolwork?
yeah, you little dumbass.
Well, Bubbles, you mentioned that since you were salaried, that you don't get paid, but that's the kind of excuse I would say is what management or whoever, the one who's making the overtime, like, well, at least you guys will get overtime pay. Like,
but I don't.
like yeah, cool for one, but at some point I value my time off more than the overtime.
Yeah, I mean, you can get time and a half, double time, whatever. But let's face it, and it's probably depending on which state you live in, but let's just say for our specific state that Six and I are in, anything more than 10 hours of OT per 2-week pay period bumps you into the next tax bracket.
Yeah.
So let's say you work like 30 hours of OT, you look at your paycheck, an
It ain't shit.
extra $200. I'm like, well, at least it's an extra $200. The hell
Do
with
you
you
know
though,
how much work I did to get that extra $200?
Yeah, I did 30 hours worth of work for only an extra $200. Like, I would have rather had my weekend. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I put off stuff that I needed to do at home to come here for an extra 200, but like, nah.
But that's like the excuse I hear all day. Well, I wish I had overtime pay, this and that. And like what MVP said, like for $200 for a 40-hour put in, no. Absolutely no. Like,
I want my sanity first.
it's like, how about you give me your paycheck? Like, or how about you just roll that into like time off? Right?
Yeah.
Roll that off.
Oh, I would much more prefer that. Like,
Right.
hey, you work 30 hours of OT. So you get maybe not 30 hours of time off, but maybe like half. You get an extra 2 days of time off for that extra 30 hours. Cause you almost worked another whole
Yeah.
pay period. So it's like, all right, we'll just give you extra time off,
Yeah, like I don't know, like some kind of other like plus 30% earned or some
Mhm.
crazy math or whatever. So like at least I get some of that time off back.
Or let's say for each over OT day you work for a month, you get so say you work 4 days of OT, you get 2 extra days off or 3 extra days off. Something where the company still gets a little bit of theirs, but you also are at least getting
Right.
something back. You
Like,
know what I mean?
you can't tax me time off.
Right.
You can probably
That's
tax the
true.
money I earned from it, but you can't tax the actual time off.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or tacking on to like holiday breaks, right? A
Right.
lot of companies out there shut down for the holidays. So it's like, cool. Over the past year, you worked 300 hours of OT. So, after at the holidays, instead of having just 2 weeks off, you got 3.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
So you mentioned this earlier, MVP, about, well, we'll catch you in the back end. Right.
Mhm.
I don't know how many times I've heard that in my
Biggest
life.
lie.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest lies you tell yourself. That should be a book, like, and other lies that they tell you. So like, we'll catch you on the back end. We'll catch you on the back end.
Oh, we'll buy you a steak dinner. Oh, we'll do whatever.
Yeah. Like,
Here's $100 to go
So-
to dinner.
so here's a story about it. In the earlier times of the Corps, they had this program what's called 90 days for a 96, right? Means if you go 90 days without a DUI or alcohol related incident for 90 straight days, we'll give you a 4-day weekend,
Oh, that's cool. I mean, at least there's incentive in
Right.
that program.
right? And they'll celebrate it, or you could see the count. They'll have a big counter tally sheet at the front of the building, says, "Oh, we are at 80 days for 90 days," or whatever the case may be. I was in this one unit where we went almost 1,000 days without a drunk related incident. We were like 900 something.
Damn.
And,
Wow.
and
That's impressive.
and-
for the Marines.
and then ask me how many. Yeah, right. Crazy. No, that's a record in itself. So, but ask me how many of those 4-day weekends we took out of that 900 days.
0.
Probably
Zero.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
A
sure.
big fat zero. So we're coming up to close to 1,000, and I made like this not so joke that if we hit 1,000, I think that'd be like a Marine Corps record ever.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Ever.
Or is it one of those programs like if we hit 1,000 days, normal working days, so weekends don't count, and you're like, so I'm gonna work every weekend, but that doesn't count towards my 90 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like,
So I made this joke like, well, if we hit 1,000, we should probably get like a 2-week time off period.
Yeah.
Because look, first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were about 980 at the time. And then they just said, we're doing away with this 90 day for a 96 thing because we have such a high op tempo, et cetera, et cetera. The very first weekend when they said that, right down to 0.
oh yeah,
980 days were straight to 0.
because everybody put in the effort to get to that 1,000 days, right? Everybody played good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh, cool, we're going to get a 4-day weekend if we do it. And then when you get down to it, and you're like, oh, you're going to take it from me anyways? Cool. Well, I'm going to start getting my time back then this weekend immediately.
Yeah, and that was like the the excuse, right? It's like, well, we got this 96 that we can give you because we owe it to you, but we'll catch you on the back end. We got this high up tempo, but we'll catch you on the back end, et cetera, et cetera. And it turned into like 100 days later, 900 days later, and then they finally broke the horse's back. All right, we're not getting it at all. Matter of fact, we're doing away with the entire program. So fuck you.
Yeah. Like thanks for increasing our ops tempo though. And you're like,
yeah,
you should feel proud enough. That should be make you feel proud enough. And you're like, no, I want that 4 days.
No, it's like, matter of fact, you owe us, let's see, 90,
10.
like 10 4-day weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or what's the thing? You know, you're about to get delivered bad news. And when they come, hey, everybody, we brought pizza for everybody.
oh my God. Yeah.
You son of a, you're about to deliver some terrible news.
Right.
I don't want your pizza. Keep your pizza.
Yeah,
and
pizza,
keep your news.
pizza or ice cream, or both, right? Pizza and ice cream. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you know it's really bad when they break out both.
Right? Like, well, what did you do? Who's getting fired? What's going on?
Yeah, who's getting court-martialed?
What's going on? Matter of fact, that there was a TV series called Generation Kill where they actually did that. Like, these guys, they get like a whole truck's load of pizza. They're like, hey, look, we got pizza. Oh my God, first time eating real food in how long? You know? And then it's like, and then 24 hours later, by the way, we're going into Iraq.
What? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
But
Is this the reason
like,
you gave us pizza?
Yeah.
yes, and this is true. And this
To try
was
to soften the blow.
but this was I thought it was a joke, right? But this TV series came out after my first deployment, but they did the exact same thing. Like we're trucking along, having a normal work day, and then they said, you know what, guys, go ahead and go back to your tents and just enjoy yourself. Just take the day off. I'm like, and then by the way, we brought pizza. I'm like, cool, all right, awesome, hell yeah. And then before the sunset, we're all in this big circle, this big school circle. Like, hey, so we got this warning order, and we're gonna be pushing into Iraq in about 12 hours. Be ready to move all your shit in 12 hours. Like, okay. That's why they gave us
shit.
pizza.
Yeah, there's always an ulterior motive, man. Nothing's ever given to you without looking for something back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, never comes free.
Or like they say, hey, we're gonna bring you in on the weekend, but don't worry about bringing food. You know, the cafeteria or whatever be closed, or sometimes there's no taco trucks out there on that time on the weekend because they typically know your business is shut down. So it's like, all right, don't worry about bringing food. We're gonna order pizza, and then they order 2 pizzas for like
20 people.
And you're like, oh, cool, I got 1 slice.
And it's nothing you like.
No, yeah, and
It's nothing you like.
It's one is just plain cheese, and the other one's like supreme.
Or
Yeah.
pepperoni. Like you just get the 2 most basic options.
Yeah, and then everybody's got to split between it, and let's say you're out on the line busy doing something, then you get back and the boxes have been plowed through, and you're like, great,
Right.
I didn't
And
get
you got that
anything.
one gluten-free dude on the crew who's like, well, I guess I don't eat today. Okay.
Yeah, right.
And then the rest of us are like, I guess you don't. You know, but like,
You should have brought a salad.
Sucks
I don't
to
know
be
what to tell you.
Yeah.
You should be used to carrying food.
Or
yeah,
the same way. It's like, oh, this flight is going to be super early in the morning, but don't worry about breakfast. And then you show up and it's just like 1 box of donuts.
yeah, they bring a dozen donuts
Cut into quarters.
for 40 people. And you're like, I guess I'm gonna have to cut this into pieces.
but don't you guys are working this weekend, but don't worry, we're bringing donuts. Oh, that makes
enough for
that
everybody.
makes it so much better.
And the worst is when you're sitting there on the weekend and you're like, why are we working this weekend? And they give you the reason. You're like, I brought that issue up on Tuesday. So if we would have addressed it on Tuesday, we wouldn't be here today.
Right.
But since you chose to ignore me, and now I'm here on a Saturday, now I'm pissed. And
Yeah.
like, and then you get the same morale dump that everybody does. Like, I don't give a shit if this thing flies today. Fuck it.
Right.
I'm here, but I don't care if anything positive happens. And
Yeah.
that's then it's almost a wasted day at that point. Cool, thanks for paying me time and a half for literally how many weekends of those have we had
Oh,
where you're like,
too much.
cool, we actually went backwards in progress
Yeah.
by showing up today. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of overtime work days are exactly that. There's stuff that's preventable. You know, like we could have avoided this whole thing if we just done our job when we were supposed to.
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah. You know, like I told you to do this XYZ ago, like MVP said, but since you didn't, now we're paying the price for it. Your fuck up is now all of a sudden my time off.
yeah, and the people making those calls is like, cool, you going to be here this weekend? Well, no, because I don't get paid for it. I'm salaried.
Yeah, and I hate that shit. You know, like they tell you, hey, we're working this weekend. It's like, by we do you mean us, or by we do you mean me?
and it just goes back to some previous conversations we've had in other episodes about terrible leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you say, hey, you're going to be here this weekend. Oh, cool. You're going to come in and, work it with us. No, I'm going to be at home, but just text me updates throughout the day to see how things are going.
Like, yeah, I'll be on call. Like,
yeah, I'll be on call. Like, and then that's what they'll do. They'll just call you. Hey, how are things going? Leave me alone, dude. If you want to know,
you should be here.
You should be here. But that's how you build that morale, right? And people, that level of respect is like, hey, look, I'm sorry this happens. I know it was brought up early in the week. Poor decisions were made, and we're here on the weekend, but I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid, but then you have your guy. Like, so the next time you got to come out, hey, team, we got to do this. And they're like, okay, cool. But at least my leads and my boss is going to be here with me. So like, they're going to go through the suck with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Bubbles, I'm sure you've seen some incidences like this where the boss says, okay, we're working this weekend, or we're all on call this weekend. And they're there chilling, having a great ass time. But they constantly call to bug you. They say, like, what's going on? What's the play-by-play? Like, they want all the updates real time. And you're just sitting there like, if you're going to keep bugging me like this, why don't you just freaking be here?
Right. Is it off the ground yet? Is it off the ground yet? Did it land yet? I told you I would notify you the minute that it was wheels up and wheels down.
Yeah.
Since you have not yet received a call and or text from myself, what do you think is currently going on? Well, why isn't it up? It's not even time for it to take off yet. We still have 45 minutes. Like, well, why aren't we getting off the ground early? Click.
Yeah,
sorry, bad service.
Sorry. My weekend minutes didn't kick in.
It's not after 9 yet.
It's not 9 p.m. to 9 a.m.,
That's exactly what it was.
Bubbles, you ever had some instances like that?
Yeah, I one of our execs actually not too long ago, she kind of cornered me in the office, and I was like working on this plan, had to address some like emergency situations, and she like just kept over analyzing it, and I was like, you're making it more complicated, and at the end I was like, you're getting in my way. And typically I have a mostly relaxed relationship with a lot of our executive members, but with her it's not like that. She's not always the most personable person, and she's also kind of shy, so that also kind of what feeds into it. But I just had to be like, I need you to trust me. Like, you allowed for me to get this position because you felt like I knew what I was doing. I was like, so I need you to trust me, and I need you to step out of my way, because either you're going to be here with me while, I'm working till 4 a.m. in the morning to try to figure this out, or you're not. So what do you want it to be? I was like, are you going to trust me to do my job and to lead, or are you going to try to sit here and micromanage me? I was like, because if you want to micromanage me, like, I can walk away and you can do this.
Well, that's a good point you brought up, because that goes back to being called every 10 minutes. Am I running this today, or are you running this? Because if you're running it,
I'll go home.
Then you can show up, and so at this point, why am I here?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna question every decision I make today, then you should be here to make the calls yourself.
Yeah.
Or they tell you they're not gonna show up, and they show up anyways. And like, well, I just wanted to see how things are going. Well,
we both didn't need to be here today. I could have just gone home.
Yes, we both need to be here. I'm here because you said you weren't going to be here, and then you show up anyways. Mm-hmm. So can I leave now? No, I'm only just showing up. I'm just going to be here a couple hours, and then I'm going to leave. And you're like, oh my. Well, can I leave for a couple hours while you're here then?
Yeah,
like,
can I go run and get some food or some shit?
Yeah, can I disappear? Like, that kind of crap drives me insane. Like, why?
So, Shoreline, you ever had an incident like that?
Less so that, and more so just situations where I'll take this wedding for instance. We were talking about on overtime calls earlier. So I am booked to do this big 4th of July show that we do every year, and it's a big metal festival. It's now a country festival, but whatever. At the time, it was a metal festival, and I'm like getting prepared to do this. I'm excited because I actually get to mix and do audio stuff. And then about a week before the show, I get let know, oh, well, actually our biggest client has a cousin or something that's getting married. So I need you to go do that because you're the most corporate friendly person we have. I'm like, well, that sucks because I've been really, really looking forward to doing this show, but okay, cool, whatever. So now I'm planning and prepping for this show, which I'm just working and it's not at all fun. And so I go and do this show and it's like a 6 a.m. to midnight gig. So I'm tired and working my way out and I get a call and they're like, oh, well, we need you to stop by that show that you were supposed to work and do the loadout because so-and-so didn't show up. Oh, so I have to go from my show that I did by myself, come to your show where you have 7 people and help you load out. Wonderful. And not to mention it's the fun show that I actually wanted. Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, it's like, cool. So nobody's going to help me and I still have to help you because somebody else opted to not do their job.
Well, and some idiot decided to rent a corrugated floor so all of our wheels would get stuck. And so loading that truck was horrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was not a happy camper.
Didn't you also get like an additional show like right after that too?
Yes. So I ended up working that show and then we had a show the following day that I had to be at like 6 a.m.
Jesus.
So it was like go home, take a 20-minute nap, and go work another 12 to 16 hours.
Jesus. And
But
no team either?
Nope.
Jeebus.
Yeah, and I mean that's how my summers are a lot of the time is just go, don't stop and go as long as you can. Yeah, so it's a lot of overtime in the summer. But on the flip side, not a whole lot of work in the winter. At least where I'm at.
True that. And I like your example and then all our examples that we said so far that a lot of this stuff is preventable. I also think it also comes down to like the management just doesn't know how to say no. You know what I mean? Like the customer requests something and they say, hey, we want you to do this. And without even gauging their resource requirements, they say, yeah, sure, we can do it, to try to keep that connection or relationship going. So they say, absolutely, we will 100% do it. And they have no freaking clue on how to do it, but yet you're the one having to pay for it.
You mean like when you're an audio video lighting company and you choose to do HVAC?
Yes. Yes. I don't know how that's going to work.
I don't understand how that crosses over, but it's one of those, instead of them saying, hey, the weekend request comes in from customer or test group or whatever else. And you're like, all right, before I say yes, let me go see what kind of availability I have for personnel this weekend.
Right.
Because I wasn't planning on any weekend work. So I haven't, it's Thursday and I haven't brought up anything, like nobody's aware. So let me see what I can get for you to cover the weekend, if anything. And
frankly, you should be charging that customer more because it's a last minute request and therefore paying your people more because it's a last minute request for them to work.
Right.
Right. Well, in so many instances, they say, well, the request has to come in by this time on this date every week. And if it's not in there, then we don't plan for it.
Right.
And time again, it's like, hey, last minute request, we got to do this and that. And you're like, well, no, that wasn't part of the planning meeting. Yeah, but we're still going to do it.
Yeah.
But I actually just listening to a podcast on the way over here, and it was talking about working and people's times, and the biggest mistake leadership or management makes is wasting their people's time.
100%.
And wasted time is time that can never be brought back. So if like your guys are going to have to work the weekend, you should say something ahead of time. At least start planning because if you do it last minute and nothing's planned out right and your people show up on the weekend and it's still a guessing game and they're still trying to piece it all together, you've wasted their time.
Absolutely.
And once those individuals have realized their time's been wasted, they will never jump through hoops for you again.
Right.
So that's a lot of management overlooks that aspect of, look, if I'm going to call them in last minute, we need to have all this crap lined up so we can be as productive and efficient as possible.
Right.
From last minute decision making. Right. And if that means management showing up to cover some roadblocks or to push through some roadblocks, because how many times have you seen we need to get this component or this part or whatever, but only management can sign for that. well, they're at home, so we're trying to contact them, but they're not responding. And this and that. And you're like, if only we had somebody on site who could make that call or sign that piece of paper or whatever right away. But here we are back to a waiting game. So that's, again, back to the time wasted. You'll never get it back.
Yeah. Or then you get some stuff like, well, just sign it on my behalf just one time. And then you kind of build that trend going. So this person just automatically assumes that they can do it. And then they go to...
Well, it goes to the asking, I'll just sign it again. They let me do it last week, so I'll just do it this week. I didn't get their permission this week, though. I'm just going to do it because the hell with it. We're already here, and on a weekend, I don't want to be here any later. So I'm just going to sign it. And if they yell at me on Monday, I'll just ask for forgiveness. Yeah, sorry. I thought, we had the same situation as last week. And obviously you in leadership haven't learned. So I'm just going to take it upon myself to push it forward.
Yeah, right. To make your fuck ups.
Yeah. And we got your test flight off and we got all this stuff done. You're still going to yell at me because I signed in your stead, but you still couldn't be bothered to show up this week either. So
yeah, right. Like I got your fuck ups cleaned up, but yet you're going to yell at me for cleaning it up. Weird.
Yeah. We got this last minute request completed on time and under budget with little to no notice, but because you couldn't be bothered and I had to take it upon myself that I'm in the wrong.
Yeah. Bubbles, I see you're having a little mini implosion right now. hit us with it.
Yeah. I just have had so many situations that, that really resonates with of, never learning from past mistakes. And it's just like, and then it just ingrains all of these inefficiencies into processes. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why?
Right.
Literally, why?
I think it's because of the people who have that character to get things done regardless of the bullshit that they're handed. And then so they start getting cocky about it. It starts enabling them to continue making their bad decisions because they know no matter how ridiculous it is, they'll still get it done.
Yeah, they'll still come through for them and make them management, leadership, whatever, look good.
Yeah.
Despite all the terrible decisions, like, I got this fail safe. But over time, though, you get that person who continually jumps through hoops and they just go, no, not today. I'm going to go buy the book.
Yep.
And it says I can't do anything until you get this here. And they're like, hey, like, well, you didn't have any issues last time.
Yeah, what happened yesterday when I got to do XYZ and blah, blah, blah. And it was all right then when it benefited you and made you look good and you got to take the credit for it.
Yep.
Then it was all right. Yeah. But when you have to answer for it, all of a sudden, I never said that.
Right.
Yeah. And so when that happens, you get hung out to dry. We've all been hung out to dry.
Yeah.
You hung out to dry one time. You're like, oh, no. Right. Pump the brakes, everybody. We ain't doing nothing until we get an answer. And I've called and I've texted and I've emailed and I've gotten a response on neither of them. And we'll do nothing until I get a response.
Right.
And then you're like, cool. Well, it's getting to that time where I need to cancel whether I need to decide if I need to cancel night shift coming into on the OT day. And I haven't got a response yet. So I'm going to call everybody and cancel afternoon work. And then right after you cancel afternoon work, you're like,
all of a sudden you get a response.
You get a response because you see the email. They see the email go out that says, hey, all second shift or night shift personnel, disregard, don't come in on the OT day. We're all good. And they're calling, hey, whoa, what's going on? No, I took care of all the stuff. No. Nope. I've done that before. I'm like, nah, I've already canceled.
Your time limit has expired.
Yeah, I've already called everybody back. I called, texted, emailed you 4 hours ago, and you couldn't be. Well, I was driving this and that. You knew we were working today. You should have made yourself available,
right,
to respond.
Or if it was that important, you should have been here with me.
You should have been here with me. Yeah. So I've canceled it. Nobody's coming in.
I'm gonna stop you guys there because you're making way too much sense.
I'll see myself out. I use logic. I'm sorry, everyone.
We don't got that kind of budget for sense. We spent it all. That kind of reminds me of that TV show Chernobyl. If any of you haven't seen it, like some of the chain of events that happened that made that reactor explode. You're just wondering the whole time it happened. Like, this sounds really dumb. Like, I don't know the whole science behind it, but just looking at it, like, this sounds really dumb. We shouldn't be doing that. And yet they continue to. It's when their ego starts getting questioned. Like, no, I know what I'm doing. Shut the fuck up. I don't care what the gauge says. In the red is not really in the red.
I'm smarter than you.
Right?
Yeah, I'm
smarter than the gauge. And then, they get this fail safe that they think is going to work. So they're like, yeah, go ahead, roll it. If all else fails, press the red button. and they go to press the red button, and that's the catalyst that actually makes it explode.
Oh, jeez.
So how many times have anyone out there has had that where they feel the failsafe is going to save you, and it ends up being the catalyst that blows everything up?
That's happened several times. Yeah.
Right?
And here's the parachute. Save me. Oh, it's an anvil like in the cartoons. Damn it.
They forgot to pack the chute. No.
Yeah, no. Silverware comes out. Oh, no.
Or like just like a nest of moths.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Bubbles, I can see you quivering again. Like, oh my God. I know so many. Such preventables.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times we are put in these situations that are preventable. It's preventable. I mean, you know, especially when it pertains to like mandating overtime or having to work overtime and all of these things. It's like we just listened or saw or thought outside of our own egos, like, and you know, just said, hey, you know what, maybe we fucked up on this. Like, how do we take a step back, fix it before, you know, it gets to step 97 and it's going to be okay. Then, you know what, like your staff's not worn out and tired and unhappy, and like you have efficiencies in, you know, your projects and your matrices. And it's just like, but it's like everybody's trying to make things more complicated. And then it's like, oh, we have to have overtime. And then it's like, well, fuck, we don't have the money for overtime. And it's just like,
I like how you mentioned about the whole complicated steps. So MVP and I have had these instances where we had to work an overtime day because somebody wants to try out a pet project, you know, like, or they want to do a test. They want to do a test because they're in such a rush, but it's nothing that needed to get done right away. You know, like, couldn't this wait till Monday when we have everything available to us? Like, no, it's got to get done now. I'm like, but why though? Like, what's the benefit of us doing it today versus Monday? Well, because I told you to.
Yeah, I actually just had that happen right before, you know, taking some time off of work, where like we're like, operating in the middle of a fucking pandemic still. Like, people are tired. They've been working hard. They've been working long hours. And it's like we started this continuous quality improvement bullshit that's now with like, I mean, it's not bullshit. I see, you know, the purpose of it.
Well, only
but I don't see the urgency of it right now.
It's you see the purpose of it, but only if they heed what the quality processes find as errors.
Yeah.
Only if you find those problems and you correct them. If you're just doing inspections like, oh, yep, we have 60 errors out of 100 and choose to do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Then it becomes pointless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what it did was, you know, it was like this new process integrated, and now it's like, well, you need to have it done within 3 days. Or you need to have all of your files for all of your programs, past and present, like, done. Right. I need you to have all the errors fixed. I need you to go through everything, but you can't check your own. And it's like, oh, and I also know that you're going through a staffing crisis, but figure it out.
Fuck.
Well, it's one of those, yeah, working through the pandemic and everything. Like, well, you still have a job and this, that. You're like, yeah, but people are still wrung out. Well, why? They still have jobs, they're still getting paychecks. Right. But the fun outside of work, their life outside of work that makes this a little bit more bearable has diminished to nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
All they do is sit at home and hope that nobody gets sick and come to work where they get shit on and hope they don't get sick.
Right. Yep. We talked about this in a previous episode with Arabia, right? Like, you got to identify the day to deload and decompress. Yep. Otherwise, you'll run yourself ragged. And for instances like this, with what Bubbles was saying, where they're trying to crunch a timeline so it looks good on their end instead of something they can just implement correctly over time, you know, like,
yeah, small implementations here and there.
Yeah, like what's the point? What's the end? What's the value taken, you know, or the value added?
Yeah.
0. It's negligible, you know, like
I think another big problem when it comes to making decisions that drive overtime work or whatever else is the accountability issue. Not a lot of people are held accountable for their actions. They can make as many terrible decisions as they want. People keep going, okay, well, what do you suggest? It didn't work out the last 6 times, but what do you suggest now? We'll take it. No, nobody's held accountable. Like, hey, you made this call and it blew up in our faces and costed X amount of money more to correct, or time wasted, or whatever else, or injury, depending on the severity of it, right? So you have now forfeited your right to input anything, but there's no accountability. People are just, they're left to do whatever the hell they want. So they think they're untouchable.
Yep.
And they get that chip on their shoulder, and they just like, oh, I'm going to keep making all these decisions, and you will listen to me because I am who I am, and I'm not going to get yelled at.
Right.
But that's my input on that.
Man.
Yeah, speaking with some hate over there.
Yeah, I had one or two instances I was running through my head that was just, man, it was pushing me over the edge. So I had to back off. Starting to get a little rage coming through. Like,
MVP with rage slating.
I'm trying hard not to lose my head.
yeah, it was just one of those. You're like, this person's a fool.
Yeah.
But no, why? I can't be the only one who sees it. So you start talking to me like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Why are they making this call? And so you bring it up to them like, nah, who are you?
Right.
Who are you?
It's like, do you know who I am?
Yeah,
do you know who I am?
You know how many times, at least from Six and I's own experiences that I've heard that, like, who are you? You're just this. I'm this.
Oh my fucking God.
And you're like, that doesn't mean that you make every sound decision you make is gold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you might have 1 out of 10. Otherwise, it just sounds like a lot of crap you're spewing out of your mouth all the time. To the point where I'm not even listening. Like, you talk and it's like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Wah, 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 wah.
Wah, wah, wah,
It's
wah.
like you talk and
I'm
I'm already hanging up the Zoom call.
right. Like,
Yeah.
I'm becoming tone deaf to your frequency. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even hear you anymore.
The worst part I hate about it, especially the examples you were saying, is they put it off to you like, oh, you're just this. So your input is negligible. It's no value added. It's neutral. But they sell it to their direct reports that it's somehow your fault that we're here.
Yep.
You know, like,
Yes.
oh, you guys can blame the controllers or you can blame these individuals because that's why we're on overtime, because they didn't push the priority. They didn't push the schedule or whatever, or they didn't push the service as they should. And I'm like, wait a minute. I told you this. We told you this X days ago, X weeks ago. We saw it coming right from the get-go, and yet you chose to continue to push the envelope and engineer dinosaurs. So don't get pissed off when they break loose and start killing everybody.
Right. They just push you to the side. And when shit goes sideways, then they come to you like, and you're like, all right, so what now? Because you want to be the one to make decisions. So you come to them and you're like, all right, what now? And they're like, I don't know. You make the call.
Right? It's like, what
am I paying you for? And you're like,
I was like,
oh, what? I mean, I'll make some calls, but I want to hear you right now. Tell me you forfeit any input that you have on the decisions I make.
Right.
You forfeit. I'll fix it for you, but you get no say on what I do.
right? They look at you like, where were you at fail safe? Like, excuse me, you disabled me.
Yeah. Yeah. The minute I tried to put some input and you switched my mic off. Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Well-
I'm just here.
Well, we're gonna enjoy this car wreck together.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Pull out the popcorn and watch the dumpster fire. That's exactly how it goes, man.
Right. Oh, I can see Shoreline and Bubbles like really going. It's like I'm
Especially Shoreline. He got uber quiet all of a sudden. Like he was running scenarios through his head of
It's like
He feels the fire. He feels the
instances,
fire.
and he's trying to control it.
Man, the people that kill me are the ones that are like, "Oh yeah, I'll take the big job. I'll be crew chief for this show." And then I'm thinking of one instance in particular at this one venue that I constantly crew chief at, that I try very hard not to crew chief at because I try to be an audio tech whenever possible because it's way more fun. So I brought up, I was like, "Hey, I don't want to crew chief." He's like, "Cool, I'll crew chief. That's fine." Okay, cool, awesome. So established, the sheet goes out. He's the crew chief. Well, we get through the show, or we're doing the show. We get loaded in. We're sitting there, and he goes, "Well," and somebody's like, "Oh, I have a question. It was a lighting question. I'm just the audio guy." And I'm like, "Well, that's not my job. Go talk to the crew chief. Like, I have nothing to do with that." He then sends him back to me and says, "Well, what does Jeff think?" Like, bro, I'm not that guy.
So I think a lot of people, they try to get into a leadership role to thwart off additional responsibility. Like I got up into this position so I can deflect it all downwards. And what it's supposed to be is like, I'm in a leadership role. I am taking on more work. I accept that I am taking on more work. Instead of only knowing my one key piece, I have oversight of everything. But then that person chooses to use it as, oh, I'm going to use this as little as possible because I'm in a leadership role, and tell you to go over and talk to them and them and them and them. And then when it goes sideways, I'm going to go to you, Shoreline, and say, what the hell did you tell him?
Well, and then
What did
get
you
this.
say?
Well, and then get this. Then we do the show, and I'm answering everybody's questions. I'm the one sending everybody on to lunch. I'm doing all this stuff. And then at the end of the night, we are not quite to the loadout point, but we're almost there, which is when I am supposed to, as the A1, take my entire audio crew and say, cool, pack all the audio stuff up, put it in the truck, we go home. He is like, well, I'm going to go to the hotel. Bye.
She just straight up just left the
Just
site.
straight up left the site.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yes. Was like, cool, I've been up for too long. I'm going to leave. Okay, so who's leading this? Well, you are. Oh, really? Okay. That's good to know, because nobody else on site had actually been in that room before. So now I have to take this new crew and do a loadout with them. Even though I've done my job, I have all of my marks completed, and it's running more efficiently than it ever has because I am overseeing it and I am familiar with the room, but yet I get none of the credit when it all goes well.
Oh my god!
So let me guess, being the crew chief in your field also gets a pay increase? You get a little bit extra pay?
Supposed to. I was making $15 at the time.
But he doesn't.
Right, yeah, you don't, but
Yeah.
I mean, certain, like that guy
It's
probably was.
supposed to.
He was probably getting additional pay, and
Yeah,
like,
he was making more than me.
yeah, see,
there we
God,
go.
that's no matter what field you work in, I feel like
The worst.
it's the worst, man. Nothing deters people's ability to want to get things done
Yep.
faster than that. Like, wait, I'm doing 3 times the work. You're supposed to be the one in charge of me, and you're continually coming to me and asking me what I would do.
Right.
What is your purpose?
Right. Because I'm the audio guy, and now I'm overseeing audio, video, lighting, rigging, everything. And I'm like, and I'm barely even getting paid for audio.
Right, so that's when you should go.
Right,
That's when you go
right.
to your boss and like, I expect
Yeah.
a little extra.
Well,
My
I did,
wallet
and
to get
that's-
significantly heavy.
Well, that's exactly why I stopped working underneath that person.
You are
So-
welcome. Be grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah,
I am grateful.
I am grateful.
How many people out there, besides you guys and the listeners, who have a company or have a company policy where it's like, you get so good at your job, you get to do somebody else's.
Oh, all of the time.
The every time?
Every second.
The only time?
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, you were doing like the job of literally 9 managers.
Yes.
That-
Yes.
That sounds similar to our experience.
Right?
So not only do I get to do my job, I get to do the job of every manager on site.
Right.
Fun.
And they get the cost effective part of it where I shoulder all the responsibility and I get paid basically peanuts.
Not even a third of what they're
Yep.
making. Great.
Mhm.
Yeah. Basically peanuts. Yep.
Yeah.
Watch Dumbo do another trick. There he goes. Son of a bitch.
Dumbo's the right word too.
With his big ass ears and everything. Like,
Yeah, you know, like the cartoons when they look in the mirror and they turn into a donkey and it says jackass on the side.
yeah, that's
That's how I feel like I look in the mirror and it's like, what's that meme where like each step of the way he's like slowly putting on the clown makeup and the wig and the nose, and at the end you're just like straight clown, you know?
Called getting ready for work.
Yeah, getting ready for
Getting ready for overtime.
getting ready for overtime. I'm a clown. This will be an efficient and effective overtime weekend as you're wearing all your clown
as you
makeup.
paint your clown makeup.
That's awesome.
That's what I closing thoughts, Bubbles.
Overtime sucks, but you know, if you're gonna mandate it, be there with your team.
Agreed.
I would agree with that.
Solid.
And even if your management refuses to show up and you're the lead, do right by your team. Don't kill them. Don't kill them for shortcomings on leadership side, on management side. Do what you can and lock the door and walk away when you hit a wall. If they're not willing to help you, don't kill yourself for them.
Right.
Order enough pizza for everyone.
Right.
Yes.
Pizza and
Please.
donuts.
Especially if you're management, make sure your people are taken care of.
Yes, especially because sometimes the overtime is unavoidable. It just has to happen, like all the things. But like what Bubbles, MVP, Shoreline have saying, like it's got to get done. The least you can do is take care of your circle because that will turn south real fast and you'll be less cost effective if you start losing your team.
Right. To reiterate, time wasted is time you can't get back.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We'd like to thank our patrons for supporting us and helping us make this episode. Bring on guests like Bubbles, who is also a patron. Thank you again, Bubbles.
Woohoo, thank you.
Thanks, Bubbles.
It helps us make these episodes, helps Shoreline be happy to make these episodes. We visit our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. We have some merch for the coming winter. We also have our sponsor, Rockwell Time. Visit rockwelltime.com. They make awesome watches, sunglasses, and other outdoor apparel. Use the code CX, the number 4 MX. That's Charlie X-Ray, the number 4 Mike X-Ray, and save 20% off your next purchase. We also have some other merch on cancelformaintenance.com. Also, if you want to have some ideas for the show or you want to come onto the show, visit the contact us section in our website. Shoot us your episodes and we'll do what we can to get you or your ideas on the show.
Yes, and thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Yeah.
You're grateful.
You are grateful.